My name is Gordon Matheson. If you'd like to learn more about our musical, the website is nomatterwhat.net, spelled WATT.net. And watch this video. When did I fall in love with theater? I probably fell in love when I was a kid. I was involved with high school and stuff for plays like that. And I actually fell in love with Jesus Christ Superstar and Godspell and probably the rock opera Tommy. When I saw rock opera Tommy, that's when I was like, wow, music and visuals. That was before MTV. So I was kind of excited about that. But the real big one was Rent. I'm a Rent head. I used to drive down to New York City. I'm from Worcester, Massachusetts. I used to drive down to New York City to see Rent on Broadway. And I remember I used to sit there and tears would stream down my eyes because I loved that so much. I didn't fall in love with writing. I still haven't fallen in love. This is my first musical, and I don't intend on writing other musicals, but I have this one story, this one message, so it's really one and done. I've always been an artist, but I had a family and business, and I ended up just doing whatever. I don't know what you would call it, but I never indulged myself in the arts. Like, I got thrown out of my first punk rock band like in 1980, and I never was in any other band since then. But you say, I wrote it out of necessity because I wanted to do this musical, and so I learned how to do it. Why is theater unique? It's the live. It's just it's the magic that happens with community, because for that 1 hour, that 2 hours, you're on hopefully you're on some sort of an emotional roller coaster ride with a community. Even if that community only lives for a couple of hours in that theater, you're bonding, and if you go in a movie theater and you watch the flat screen, okay, it's kind of similar, where people are talking or whatever, but when it's live and you can suspend everything else, it's more immersive emotionally, in my opinion, than a flat screen. When did I first hear about the Hollywood Fringe and what made me want to be involved in this festival? Okay, so I'm a computer geek. I've been a computer geek for like 30 years, self-employed. And I moved out here to LA 4 years ago to be near my daughter. And a month after I got here, her and her husband moved to Dallas, Texas. And I struggled finding computer work. Not struggle, I didn't want to do it. There's the honesty, right? So I did Lyft and Uber. And there's a huge story there that I'd like to tell, but I don't know. You want me to do it now? I could do that now. And all right. So I love Rent. I've gone to Broadway several times to see it. I'm not going to skirt the issue, and I'm not going to do the filter because I'm not very good with filters. And this is a story, no matter what. This is the message. This is the play. This is what I share. I have 24 years clean and sober. So I got into recovery because I was a hot mess. And at 5 years clean and sober, I found out I had HIV after, the day I got back from a Middle East trip. I went to Amman, Jordan in 2002, a year after 9/11. And I was out on the Jordan River, and I had a nice little moment with my higher power. And hey, when I get back to Massachusetts, it might stink, but as long as I stay clean and sober, we're going to do this. The day I got back, I found out I got a registered letter saying I was HIV positive. So now that Rent play that I had seen before meant even more. And when I would go and see it, tears would stream down my face, not because I was sad, but just because I realized that, yeah, I got this disease. I got tested and I had 68 T cells, which meant I had full-blown AIDS. And but I didn't find it necessary to get high, not necessary to kill myself, And Jonathan Larson died at the age of 35, the night before it went on Broadway or the day of. I don't, but he died. So he wasn't able to see how great his play was. So now I'm out here in LA. My daughter moved to Texas. I tried working in treatment, didn't like that very much. And now I'm driving Lyft and Uber. I pick up a 92-year-old man. I'm going to go fast for this. I picked up a 92-year-old man at Santa Monica. He's going to downtown LA. So I'm driving down the 10. It's like 11 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, he tells me I'm 92 or something. I'm like, 92? And I'm like, what's the meaning of life? And like, I got a live one in my car, right? 92. I said, what's the meaning of life? He says, I'm just trying to stay alive. And I'm like, yeah, all right. And we go back and forth. I tell him about my daughter. He told me he's from New York. He moved out to be near his daughter. So we're commiserating. We're going down the street. I'm like, well, if you had it to do over again, what would you do? He's like, I'm done, no ambition. I'm like, I know, but I'm out here. I'm too young to give up. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do. I don't want to be a movie star. What would you do? I asked him. He said he'd be a writer. He said, what would you like to do? And I told him, well, I love the rock opera Tommy, and I like the way Godspell and Rent and these plays. I mean, I haven't seen The Lion King. There's a lot of stuff that I haven't seen. Like, you haven't seen this, you haven't seen that. And I'm like, no, I haven't. But he said, what would you like to do? Yeah, I said, I'd like to write a rock musical about spiritual principles, because that's what recovery is. It's like replacing your denial with self-awareness, replacing your lying with some honesty, replacing your hiding with some transparency. And he laughed at me. I said, why are you laughing? He says, I only know 2 people who were successful at writing musicals. I'm like, you're 92, you knew how to get a lift, and 2 people, I know more than 2, but who do you got? And he said, Lin-Manuel Miranda. I'm like, wow, you're 92 and you know how to get a lift and you know about Hamilton. I said, that's pretty impressive. I said, but you said you know 2. Who's the other one? He said, my son. I said, your son? What did your son write? And he said, Rent. I said, you're Jonathan Larson's father? And he said, yeah, last time I checked it. By then I was at his house and, or wherever, I can't, yeah. And I let him out the car and I'm like, the thing that recovery's done with me, rather than thinking about how could I exploit this opportunity? How could I exploit this man? Take his number. I'm like, I'm sorry about your son, but I love his musical and it's helped my life a lot. It's inspired me when I've been struggling. And he got out the car and people say, well, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you? Because the same power in the universe, the synchronicity, the kismet, the whatever that put him in my car would give me what I needed when I needed. So I've been working on this for 3 years, and this is a long story to tell you about Rent, but the Lift people, I started working on it when I was, I play the CD, which is a little narcissistic because I'm trying to figure out which songs to keep, which ones, because I got like 130. So I'm ready to go to Broadway after this, but that's another story. So, people would get in the car, and not always, oh, what is this? And I'd say, oh, it's me. And they're like, no, this is you. And somebody, told me I should look into Fringe. So in 2019, I went, Matt Quinn, great guy, Matt Ritchie. I started, figuring out who the vanguard was of the Fringe. And I realized I wasn't ready for prime time. I took their classes. I highly recommend anybody do it. And I just, I volunteered with Stina Peterson for the Hollywood Fringe, and I volunteered for Matt. So I'd be the guy out front telling you to use the toilet before the show. I'd be telling you to leave your waters in the lobby. But I did it so that I could learn the ins and outs. And I knew I wasn't ready yet. I thought I was going to be ready. And then the fall last year, I was ready to do it in 2020 and COVID hit, so I didn't do it. So now I'm here. But people, when I was Lyft and Uber driving, I heard at least twice, why don't you look into the Fringe? And I did, because I'm a geek and I can use search engines. So, oh my God, how do you not hear about Theater Asylum? Well, just I don't know how you would be involved in Fringe and not know about the gathering of the Mats. Shout out to Matt Camamera. It's just the Mats, and I'm a drug addict. So when I volunteered in the year, I'm looking who's who and whose name is on everybody's lips, and Matt Quinn and his wife. They're just they're the vanguard. There's some people that have just been around forever. And I'd go to these events like the town halls and this, and you would see them at all the events. They're always got their hand up. They're on the radar. And if you're coming in and you really want to be a serious guy in the Fringe, you look for the people who are on the radar, who are the vanguard. And so that's it. Hooking up with Matt, I took a couple classes with him, and I told him, hey, I'd like to volunteer, and he was great. He had me all over Steen is great too, but Matt had me here, there. Oh, I get to be a house manager. So I love Matt. I had to write it, no matter what. So it's 1987. I'm a computer geek, and there's a software company in San Francisco. I have a wife, a baby, and another baby on the way. And I am caught up in addiction, just drinking myself sick. And I flew out to San Francisco, and I'm sitting in a bar just getting hammered, drinking, just getting blottoed, because my business was failing. Could be because I was an alcoholic, and I'm just sitting at the bar, and this guy comes over and he goes, hey, what is your message? I'm like, whoa, buddy, I'm just trying to get a buzz. What is your message? And he was almost like belligerent. I'm like, hey, I don't know. Life's a banquet, half the beggars are starving. It's like, no, what is your message? And he was all upset. Like he knew that I had a message for him, but I wasn't giving it to him. And I'm like, I don't know, buddy. And I just started throwing idioms at him and, little bumper stickers. Nothing satiated the man. And he weirded me out, and I got up and left. This is 1987. Time goes by, I married the kids. I failed miserably. I actually had the world's second largest Unix mail order software house in the world, but I filed bankruptcy for like 300,000 on that because I was a loser. And I eventually, 1997, I left the wife and kids because the wife was a great woman, nice mother. My kids were beautiful. And I was disease and poison all over them. And I probably just wanted to get high more. But I left them, and then I got clean in 24. And for the last 24 years, my greatest joy is freedom from myself, that self-centered self-obsession that I get when sharing with another addict, alcoholic, somebody struggling, saying, listen, you can get through this no matter what. And I've been doing it for 24 years. I go into, a prison or a detox and say, listen, life sucks. I got AIDS, I also had a triple bypass because apparently cocaine and cigarettes are bad for you. I had that at 48. Who gets a triple bypass at 48? So, going and telling people like, no matter what, you're going to get through this. And it's not like my story's great. We all have no matter what's. You have no matter what's that you've gone through that like they suck. And if you just thought, oh my God, look what the universe handed to me, and you dwelled on that, you'd go nowhere. But if you say, the universe handed me these lemons and I made this lemonade, and you inspire, you encourage, you aspire to inspire. I saw that on one of the billboards. So yeah, I had to write. I mean, that's the play, no matter what, And so I started with the that bar scene. I mean, this guy was certain. And now I know what that guy needed to hear in 1987. He needed to hear that no matter how crappy your life is right now, that you can get through it no matter what without self-destructing. So it comes full circle, gestaltic, whatever. Yeah. No matter what. It's an emotional roller coaster, not a roller coaster ride. It's pretty steady. You go from total despair. I open up with lonely. You go from total despair to the end where no matter what, we're going to get through this. And the bumps and bruises along the way. One of the things that breaks my heart the most is seeing in recovery when young people, mostly young people, it's also older people too, but they put whatever substance. I mean, I tried to paint with a broad brush, so it's not AA, NA, OA, Al-Anon, Nar-Anon. It's just people who self-destruct and the people who love them. So I painted with that brush, and it's like, yeah, we all go through despair and we all need to get to the other side where there's hope. But in the middle there, once we put the drugs down or drink or whatever it was that was killing us, like, oh, girlfriend, boyfriend. And I mean, we've got all these chemicals up in the brain. The big one is oxytocin, which is the love drug, and, it's when you pat a kitty, that oxytocin gets released in your brain. So drug addicts, we like to get those brain chemicals going, endorphins or whatever. And when you fall in love or we're not sleeping together, we're just talking to each other. No, you're not. You're playing with your brain chemistry, and you really should learn to love yourself first before you go cropping off. And what happens so many times, and I've seen it, is that people young in recovery, they've fallen. I needed a girlfriend. I don't need to go to be. I don't need to work on myself. I don't need to try to uncover, discover, recover. I need to get a girlfriend or a boyfriend because that's what's missing. And then they do that. And then one of them falls down. Then the other one falls down. And next thing you know, somebody's dead. And I've seen so many deaths for people trying to replace a recovery process with romance too soon, too quick, without actually doing any inside work. So, two sickies don't make a welly. That's what it is. And, the disease of addiction takes two for one, and it's sad. So there's a song called Superman that kind of addresses that. Another song about synchronicity, because how weird is, out of the billions of people on the planet, I get Jonathan, and he wasn't even going to offer me that he was Jonathan Larson's father. We were kicking the Willy Bobo all the way down the 10, and he comes out with that. It's just because that was part of the conversation. But synchronicity, I mean, how am I not going to write? If you see in my apartment, I got a giant poster of Rent that I had before I picked him up. I mean, for me, it's, no day but today and all that. But I was inspired by that. I got the greatest cast ever. My cast has been there. They're showing up. They're putting it in. I'm a jerk sometimes with my expectations, but they're turning it around. They're showing up. They're delivering. They're phenomenal. They brought the show to a whole nother level that I didn't anticipate, but I have 6 cast members and 2 ensemble. Oh, I want the audience to just know that whatever they're going through, that it's going to get better. It's going to get better. Feelings pass. If you're feeling good, unfortunately, that's going to pass too. But that's not what we want, no matter what, because everybody's struggling. I haven't, you don't have to be a drug addict, alcoholic, or a parent of a sick and suffering addict or alcoholic. It's just, normies. We call them normies. People go through stuff, and despair. It doesn't care what color you are, what sex you are. Human beings, we experience despair. And what I want the audience to leave the musical with even if it's for an hour, but just thinking bring it on. Things are going to get better no matter what. Oh, it's the what? A lot of times people that come into recovery, they're traumatized by any type of God or religion, so it's I don't want to hear the God word. I don't want to So what happens a lot of times is they say, oh, well, get something outside yourself, because the disease of addiction is all about self-obsession. My world, my universe. It's what people are doing to me. They're not doing for me. You know, me. And recovery is like getting outside yourself, help somebody else out with their problem, and you stop thinking about you. I get freedom from the Gordon show, like today, coming out and sharing some of my message with you. I get freedom from the Gordon show, although I'm indulging in the Gordon show by promoting my product, but let's not go down there. But, you know, they say in recovery, if you're struggling, get a higher power, like even if it's a light bulb, just something outside yourself to talk to like think, you know. And I like the compendium of spiritual principles like love, hope, and faith. You know, you get those things. You know, I don't believe in God. I don't believe in anything I don't see. Well, you don't see love. You see it in action, but I'm going down that road. But they say get a light bulb, even if it's a, you know, and a light bulb has power going to it, power that you don't normally see. I imagine some scientists will say, oh, you can see it with the light or what, but the power in a light bulb is measured in watts, W-A-T-T, so no matter what. But, you know, I consider my life, when I share with somebody struggling, the no matter what's that I've gotten through. I got through this, I got through HIV, I got through, you know, coming out to California, I got through this, I got through that, you know, all the no matter what's. And I don't get caught up in like, oh, I got, you know, nobody has the resume of pain that I have. No, there's other, you know, we all have some resumes of pain where we can help somebody else. Or I've seen people take their resumes of pain, wrap themselves in it, and this becomes their identity, their brand, you know. And it's everyone they meet and talk to, it's like, look at how life has screwed me. And it's a sad place to be, and I don't wish that on anyone. The cast is working really hard. The team, I have Soda Percy as the choreographer, and she won an award, the last Fringe. She's in Tattered Capes. I have Stephen Vlasic as the director, and he came out with he's an award-winning writer for Disrobed. He did that. Oh, just very you'll have to look up Disrobed. But he's very creative, very passionate. He's a great dramaturge. And Robert Hall, the music is phenomenal. My music, when I do my music, I'm kind of a hack, but Robert cleans it all up. The singers add the layers and the harmonizing that I kind of had in my head, but not like what they're doing. So it's just, these are all A-level team. I mean, they're great. I'm probably I'm the weakest link on the team, but I got a decent story, so they put up with me. But it's definitely worth $15. I want to see, I'd like to see tears of joy in the audience. I'd like to see the smiles after the performance on my actors' faces. I would like to see people leave the theater after the show with smiles and enthusiasm and passion to overcome whatever struggles they're facing. It's kind of delusions of grandeur, but I want to make some people feel good. I just want to just jam some hope into some people's hearts. Just stick that hope right in there, and it's like, no matter how much despair there is, I mean, it's been a tough couple years here, and that's not what it's meant for, but it's just despair sucks. And, we are each other's brothers and sisters, the big blue marble, and we gotta love each other. We're all we got, that's it. And so, I want to help. But at this point in time, with all the work, and I had no idea that it was going to be this much work, but I want to just, before I forget, do you remember that story of me picking up Jonathan Larson's father and just the kismet of it all? And I don't know, there's this thing where you see on the clock, you'll see 11:11, like, what's that? There's a bunch of people talk about 11/11, just synchronicity. But if you remember about the story, he only knew two people who were successful at writing musicals. And one was his son, Jonathan Larson, and the other one was Lin-Manuel Miranda. Now we've been shut down for a year and a half, and now we're starting to open up, or, a little bit. And the Pantages is opening up the same month that we're performing down on Santa Monica Boulevard at Second Stage at the Broadwater. Shout outs to Padraig Duffy and Heather Lynn and Rachel. Beautiful people. And what's opening up at the Pantages in August? Hamilton. So that's some kismet. So some buddies back in Massachusetts put an ad in the playbill for Hamilton. So in addition, what I would like, getting back to the point, what I would like to also see in my audience is members of the cast of Hamilton. Oh, the Hollywood Fringe Festival. Oh my God. Why should anybody go to a buffet? I mean, it's the same thing. It's like, I get to see like 55 shows by helping Matt and doing the volunteering. I forget the number, but I think it was like 55. I don't have the exact number, but it was amazing, and even I was a little down on like a couple of the shows. You go and my heart would break when I'd see somebody putting on an hour show and they got 4 people in the audience, because it happens, because they might have a great product, but they just didn't do the marketing right or forgot about it, or who knows. When my heart broke, and at first I'm like, oh, 4 people, no, what kind of, but I learned such a respect for people doing their passion, and before that, I was just like a regular consumer when it came to any kind of, musical or movie, or, like you got to have the buzz and everything, but it got me to really be more empathetic towards the people that are doing, like that. There was a phrase I learned about therapy shows. And, maybe mine's a therapy show now, I don't know. But anybody, because now that I've been doing some of this stuff, the vulnerability, opening yourself up, I come in and tell you all these intimate secrets, things that people won't normally share. So I think I've got transparency down, but I have nothing on these actors and writers who are performing at Fringe. It's so wonderful. There were like 400 shows. Anything you'd like to see, it's there. And it's just a good community to support, because, I mean, we're in LA, Hollywood. You got five major studios. One of the guys that I picked up doing Lyft and Uber, he's like, at the end of the day, you've got to report to one of the 5 bosses. So he was working with all the major studios, and he convinced me that, the 5 big studios were not the place to go. I might be shooting myself in the foot, but my desire is not to be rich and famous. My desire isn't to win the Fringe Awards, or, to go to Broadway, win a Tony. I mean, all those things would be nice, and I'd be lying if I didn't say they were nice. But what I would really look forward to is somebody coming up and telling me, I got 90 days clean, or 90 days sober, and your musical helped me, inspire me to even get on the road. That would be it. I got a quick story. I came out here in my first year clean to LA from Massachusetts. I went to this AOL chat room party, and I was there, and everybody's getting hammered, and I don't drink, for that year in 97. And I'm like, what's going on in town? I'm kind of bored with all this drinking and stuff like that. And they're like, well, the Oscars are going on. And I'm like, oh, good, I'm going to go to the Oscars. And they're like, no, you're not. What are you, crazy? I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go to the Oscars. I had long hair. I looked like Tom Petty, whatever, Back then I had a convertible rental. So I went down. They told me where it was. I went down. And they're like, when I got there, they're like, the Oscars are over a long time ago. And so then I'm like, well, where are all the stars? They're like, oh, they're up on Sunset Boulevard. I'm like, all right. So I go up to Sunset Boulevard, pull over, and like mobs of people. The blues, House of Blues was packed, and I wasn't going to get near them. So I go over to the parking lot attendants and I say, listen, I'm a guy from Boston. I got to go back tomorrow. I'd kind of like to see some stars. He's like, ooh, this is what you do. You go down the street here. He didn't say, ooh. Go down the street to the Four Seasons. There's a little bar there. There's no parties going on, but the stars are going in and out. And I did. And sure enough, I saw all these stars going in and out. And I stood next to one of the stars. And the star really appeared to me like they were four sheets to the wind. They were, if they weren't alcoholics, they were drinking alcoholically that night. They were gone. They should have been shut off. And while I was standing there and all these stars and rich people were around, I was thinking back in Massachusetts, hearing a girl raise her hand and saying, I only have 30 days and they're going to shut off my electricity. And she was just only 30 days. And I'm in the Four Seasons with all of Hollywood's rich and famous. And it wasn't like, look at all these wonderful people. I was thinking of that girl who was saying, I only got 30 days clean. And it was in a homeless shelter where this meeting was. It was gross. I won't get into how gross it was, but that woman. And while I'm in Hollywood at this Four Seasons, I was just thinking, if that woman only knew how rich she was, because looking around the room, a lot of these people wanted that 30 days of freedom from active addiction that girl had. And that's what it's about. That's what it's about. Oh God, if it doesn't have the theater, then forget it. I mean, there is so much talent out here. People come from all over the world to be in this town. And it's like there's 10,000 actors for one job. And it's just, I mean, all this talent, and they want to use their talent, and rightfully so. And Hollywood Fringe, you know, if there's 400 shows and they're doing 5 performances, that's 2,000 performances. And granted, a lot of them are solo shows, but with, I lost track of my math, but just, I mean, there's so much opportunity to support these wonderful, lot of kids, but, you know, young people or even the adults, but it's just, you know, having that available to do their craft, for the writers to get this stuff out on paper. I mean, for recovery, the recovery process, you know, you hear this stuff about 12-step programs. You know, when you do the 12 steps, what you're doing is you're taking all this crap in your head and in your heart and in your life, and you're putting it on paper where it can either die or you can arrange it and move it around and get some sort of healing by that whole process of taking it out here, putting it on paper. And that's what the writers do out here. You know, they're writing their story, they're writing their truth, they're sharing their truth with others. And, you know, and I got this, you know, sanctimonious, whatever, help other people, you know, but that's what the writers, the producers, the actors, they're sharing stories. And if you take a look through the Hollywood Fringe Index, there's things trying to make us all better people. And if we just, you know, we're all living in a vacuum, then we're not sharing our truths with each other. So it's the sense of community. Oh, the way that Ellen, there's Ellen and Lois and Stina and oh darn, I can't remember his name. Great young man. But the way they put it out is that there's a nice community where it's safe it's just a safe community. I don't know if they say it's safe to fail, because nobody should fail. But, you know, if you have something horrible, people are there to put their arm around you and say, it's all right, let's try to do it next week better. You know, and that's you don't get that in real life very often. The synchronicity is major. The cast is great. These rehearsals, it's just, there's so much rehearsing going on. I do have a YouTube page, and we have a promo video. Now there's 2 songs up there. We have a Superman song up there. We also have this video that John Laurie, who happens to be Bumdinger Chase Nipples in the musical, he actually edited The Kiss, where they did it a cappella, you know, a little rap. And it's basically a Mark Twain song, not a song, Mark Twain saying that says, I'll do it real quick. It's in promulgating your esoteric cogitations or articulating your psychological observations, eschew all conglomerations of fatuous garrulity, jeju, bevelment, and asinine affectations. Let all your communications possess a clear, concise, concatenated cogency. In other words, say what you mean what you say, and don't use big words. We use an abbreviated version of it, but say what you mean what you say, and don't use big words, and use big words to say it all. So it's kind of like cute. Yeah, but the cast nailed it a cappella. You know, we're probably going to add a little bit of music to it, but they nailed it. And that video is on our No Matter What YouTube page, which you can probably get to by going to the website. My name is Gordon Matheson. I'm doing the Gordon Stephen Matheson Jr. because that's what you do, I guess. The play is No Matter What. The website is nomatterwhat.net. Go there for tickets, information, links, wonderful content, wonderful resources, and see you there. Yeah, buddy.